Michael, nice to meet you. Thanks so much for coming in here to join us. You have a very unique perspective in our community working on something new and different and interesting, and I'm very curious to learn more. Um, just to kind of give you an outline, what I was hoping to ask you. So I'm going to get you to introduce yourself, and then there's three things that I was going to focus on. One is the development cycle. Like a lot of us are in software, and for us, the development cycle may be okay, you make a piece of concept art, and then the next day you have a Unity build, and then a month later it's on side quest, and there's a process, right? And for a product like Cybershoes, I have no idea what that is, and I'd love to hear more about it. The second thing is basically like partner integrations. I know like to make your product successful, you got to get it supported by all these developers. So I'd
Indeed.
love to hear more about that. And then third, I just would love to hear more about where you think this type of technology is going in the future. Because what you got is cool, but it's obviously not the final version. Um, so yeah, you want to start off just by introducing yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Michael Biegelmeier, and basically in 2015, um, when everybody was a bit of first contact with the VR idea, so look, I'm an architect, and I wanted to walk in this virtual reality. That's how it started. And so back then in 2015, there were these huge headsets, but not even hand controllers. So just a gamepad you could have to walk around. So I felt this need very strong to be able to walk and explore the space. So, well, and then I I started with Igor, old friend. We've been working on other projects before, and we had a basement, like a garage, you would say, souterrain in Vienna, and in there it was, well, a workshop, and we started to make some machines where you could kind of walk on on the spot. And of course we were like after a standing solution, because that is of course the obvious thing if you want to walk in virtual reality. And you've been working very hard with welding aluminium and steel constructions, very huge things, and we made some bondage to hold you in space on the same spot. So you had a climbing belt. And at the same time, also we were trying to work on Unity and trying to get our little Arduinos, the data into Unity with help of other people. And so we could move. One day we could move. It was really cool. But then some friend came and he said, "Well, what are you doing? I mean, this bondage thing, it's not comfortable at all." So and and then we were looking also at the Omni and the Cyberit, and they also had these systems. And talking with more people from outside this industry, they all said, "Well, we don't want to get into this harness." And for me as well, it was very, like in summer. I started to work on my desk and try everything sitting, because programming sitting is logical, right? So I put on my cyber shoes on the desk, and I was walking, like testing it. And and um, I realized it's, well, it's the immersion is here. I mean, it's working. So we found then some chairs which are made for movement. We found a very funny advertisement where you see like running around very fast. The guy is running around the office like this, and sitting in this office chair and making fun in the office with his boss. And this chair, we we were using this for our Kickstarter campaign, um, but it's very expensive chair. And so the whole story is like, as you're asking, how is it when you are developing some hardware? It's a long story because imagine in 2015 we started, we had this big idea, and of course we thought in 1 year this will be ready, right? So yeah, not really.
So so when you had that first version that you made in your own workshop, and you felt like, okay, the experience of this is good. What's the next step in terms of getting that manufactured for, many people?
So the actually there was this step in between where we started from scratch again, and this was a very important step to trash all these the huge things, and we made this sitting experience. And so the next step was to go on to some events like trade shows, and there we only learned what is the target, because also Igor is an architect, and we thought this is really something for architects, but the architects, well, they don't even know about VR. So tell them about walking in VR, forget it. But on the trade shows, like everybody came, and it was more like some trade show seemed like, what is the future of whatever technology. So they said, they really told us we must go into gaming, and of course that was a great turnaround that we did, because we lost a lot of time in Unity and Unreal Engine making our experiences look fine, and after that we went to gaming. We could really concentrate on the hardware and not make hardware plus content. So after 3 big trade shows, we were ready. We knew it is working. And then how to bring it to make it into a product. We had this prototype, like really reliable working. And then we asked companies specialized in design for manufacturing, and it took them about half a year to design it so it could be manufactured, and it took another half a year to produce it. So basically we thought it would take 3 months, and we had to explain our Kickstarter backers that 3 months is going to be 1 year. But yeah, after 1 year it happened. And so basically once, as soon as you know what, as soon as the prototype is really working really well, it's not so hard to go into production, I would say.
So once you had that unit and you're like, okay, we're gonna make this into a product, get it manufactured. Thanks. Sorry. So you knew you're gonna, scale this up. You're gonna make multiple units. I'd imagine one of the most important next steps is, okay, now we got to go get games and developers to support this product, so that it actually, has software that can be used with it. What was that process like?
So we were focusing on Steam VR. There was no Quest back then in 2018, and we emulated the touchpad, so of the controller, the joystick. So basically, and that's also what is now happening in Steam VR connectivity, is that we can do game settings, and curves, and we mimic the behavior of the games. So this can um so we can adapt to what the game needs. That's the Steam VR side of things, because also it's an open platform, and Valve also let us into their platform because they gave us the interfaces to be able to politely um, put the treadmill input as a controller. So we can, and Steam VR, it's possible to add another controller. I mean, many people now do this. So yeah, in fact, we've been really the first ones to be added as a treadmill, um, because we were in the beginning we were hacking into Steam VR, and then some guy from Steam VR contacted us and said, "Well, we maybe have a better solution for you." So, but with Facebook, it's not really going to happen like that way. We initially, when we started the quest endeavor, we said, well, we will make some hacking into the quest, and then maybe they will also give us a way. But while working on this, we realized that this won't happen with Facebook. It's and yeah. So that's why we said, how can we make it as easy as possible for developers? And that was just the game bed. So the whole idea about bringing Cybershoes to the Quest is like that. This is a game bed signal. So you connect the receiver, and then you have a Bluetooth gamepad. And with Unity or Unreal Engine, you can just pull this data. So then, as a developer, you have two options. You can either take the gamepad data and map it onto the joystick, or you can set up a separate code what you want, how you want to handle gamepad data. Um,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, so the platforms ended up being fairly important to your success in terms of integrating. That's a familiar story we've heard in terms of integrating with Steam versus integrating with Facebook. Very different, very different ball game. The last
Yeah.
question I'll ask you before we give out some beta builds for our new app is, you know, you worked 3 years on a prototype. Clearly, the technology has not reached its final form, right? Like,
No.
I think one of the great examples visually from pop culture is the treadmill in Ready Player One, right? Like, he hops on it and it just works perfectly and it looks cool. And, it's not realistic at all currently in terms of what's possible. But my question for you is, where does this go?
Well, this goes more in the direction of a gaming shoe. So some shoe that you can wear in your house, and a shoe that is tracked, and yeah, you can use it also for all sorts of standing VR because it's a gaming shoe. Um, but also for the Cybershoes mode, because what we really understood is, for consumers, you can do this walking place movement, where you just stand and move your feet up and down, or you can do this the Cybershoes swinging mode, where you can fast run forward, backward, and strafing will be our next thing to bring. But having a floor that really moves, this is this is like really another, as you say, another ball game. um, there you're talking about having something as expansive as a car in your house and also as big as a car in your house. So just imagine you have a rent apartment and you have to bring this huge things into your apartment and then you want to move. It's like it's like a piano that's sitting in your floor and that needs maintenance like an elevator. So the moving floor is really, um, I think, uh, for arcades, that should be the logical place to find it, an arcade. I
Going
would
the
say.
uh, going the other direction, like, could you imagine this being integrated into a pair of Nikes or something? Very lightweight.
So, basically, for the Cybershoes mode of movement, you want to have this the rounded surface of the shoe, and we are going towards, in not in the next iteration but in future, we are going towards a soft shoe where you
Mm.
can also like run around, but basically it's not a street shoe. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
So
Um, okay, does anyone else want to kind of jump in with a question before we go to the other app? Woodrow?
Yeah, I'm curious. There are so many things that kind of narrow down the scope of who your customers can be in VR. Like it's already kind of a small community as a whole, right? And then also, oh, I don't have a PC, so I have to be on Quest or and well, one of those is the motion sickness thing, in that anything in like all space in which you're sliding around smoothly, some people are really affected by that. I'm curious if you've found that working with kind of using as much natural human motion as possible in locomotion has alleviated motion sickness for people, or if there's any difference there in terms of those. I don't know what the percentages are really, the number of people in the world who either aren't really bothered by it or are, but have you noticed anything surrounding that with Cybershoes?
so yeah, so it certainly helps. So we also kind of have a like, we we advertise it as like the cyber shoes help with motion sickness, and if someone has problems, then of course they can return the shoes. And I mean, people return maybe the shoes for other reasons, but not really for motion sickness reasons. So because what happens with cyber shoes is that, when you're moving, like, maybe you can see it, that I'm swinging my head, right? I'm not sure if you can see this, but because when you move the joystick, your head is just still, and when you're swinging with the legs, then your head goes like, is moving, and so in the ears, the senses are activated.
Oh yeah, just follow closer.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
It's a presentation.
that's why it helps. But that's why also like other physical machines are helpful. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So all in all, I think VR is very much about, yeah, like all physical senses, right? So that's maybe, so one the biggest thing about virtual reality is like, this having the notion of like, yeah, not being in something, because yeah, you actually are with your body, and not only looking, right?
Awesome. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Okay, well, if you have time, I'd love for you to join us as we move to the new app and continue asking questions. But I totally understand if you have to go. And let's give Michael a round and of applause. And thanks so much for joining us in here.
Thank you very much. That's cool.